Hello, students. This is Professor Barry. I'm coming to you. We're here on the week of March the 2nd, and this week we're in chapter 7 and 8. We're going to talk about soldiers and missionaries, and then we talk a little bit more about monks. And I want to talk to you a little bit. Can't go through everything, but just want to talk to you a little bit about your reading. I want to remind you to make sure that you are keeping up with your discussion post each week. Make sure that you post by Sunday night. We open up on Mondays, and make sure you post by Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. Your posts are awesome. Also, make sure that if you make a post and you cite information that is not of you, make sure that you cite the source that you received it from. Okay, so anyway, I want to talk to you a little bit more about our reading. So if you have your books, you can go with me in chapter 7. And we're going to talk a little bit more about monasteries. And I want you to look at your discussion post for this week. Your post is going to focus a little bit more on monasteries. What is a monastery? And what was their purpose? That's going to be your discussion post this week. So the 7th century in church history is seeing a lot of changes. A lot of changes as it has been before, and it will continue to. Now, one thing that's happening is the East and the West church is starting to split even more, and you're starting to see the Eastern Empire is becoming increasingly Greek. So they're following more things from the Greek culture, which is now kind of like in modern day Turkey and Constantinople. You're seeing that area become more Greek. But now here comes something new. What's happening in the 7th and 8th century is you start to see the Prophet Muhammad, and a new religion is starting to move forward. You're going to see a lot of conquest, a lot of fighting happening. And one thing that you will notice is that people fight, or different groups of people fight over territories. And so what happens is one particular group moves into a territory. People say, hey, this is our territory, we had it, or God gave it to us. And you see that's the reason why certain groups fight against each other. It is maybe ideology, but most importantly, it is when one group comes into another group, and they are taking over their land, or they want their land, right? Because they want to expand. And that's the reason why we see a lot of conflicts. So we're starting to see, and I don't want to say invasion, but we're starting to see the Muslim groups are starting to increase, and they're moving out of North Africa and starting to conquer different areas. Okay, one area of interesting example that you may want to include in your post this week is about the Babio Monastery. And in your PowerPoint, if you look at your PowerPoint this week, I have a picture of the monastery that actually still is standing today in Italy. And so an Irish abbot, this is kind of like a priest. This abbot founded this monastery, and this particular monastery's purpose was for scholarship. So they did a lot of writing and a lot of research. And so this week you're going to start to see that the Christian church is moving out of the Middle Eastern area, right? Kind of like that Middle East area, like Syria and North Africa. So you're going to start to see it's now moving into Europe. It's moving into British areas. It's moving into Ireland. And one thing that I want you to take a look at is Celtic Christianity. Celtic Christianity is a form of Christianity, but they did things differently, don't you? So you're starting to notice that even though there are a lot of Christians, right? Christians all around the world, but you're starting to see now in the early phases of Christianity that people just do things differently, and we're just going to have to get used to that, right? So in the Celtic Christian church, monasteries were real big. They weren't really interested in having like a whole bunch of churches and church connections, but they were just interested in having simple lives and worshiping God that way. Another thing that they did with their monks, and monks were the men who worked in the monasteries, is that they would shave their heads. And there's a picture of that in your PowerPoint, and there is an actual word for that. It's called Tunsaring, and you may see like some old pictures of monks where their hair is completely shaved off. Well, there's a reason for that, and they say that they cut it all the way off because that is a sign of humility. You know, we have hair, we want to style it, we want to cut it, we want to dye it, and all of that, but that was a sign of humility unto God, meaning it wasn't about them, it was totally about God working through them. So I want you to take a little bit more time to look at your PowerPoint, and I have some symbols that are very symbolic of the Celtic Christians, and they have some really beautiful symbols that you probably have seen around but just didn't know what they meant. Here's another interesting thing too. You know, many times, unfortunately, over here in the West, in the Western Christian church, we don't really think about Christianity outside of us. And Christianity has been around for a long time, and also in China. So Christianity did start in China. It didn't have a good lasting impression because other religions such as Buddhism had already picked up over there, and so there was a missionary named Alopen, and I may be mispronouncing his name, but there was evidence that Alopen was there and tried to expand Christianity in China. But you know, one of the issues that they had was that they didn't have a Bible that they could read. So imagine you're trying to tell me about this God, but I don't have anything that I can read because the Bible hadn't been translated into their language, into the Chinese language yet. So that could be a big difference for them. All right, so anyway, I want you to continue to read in chapters 7 and 8. You'll see that once again, the church is going through a bunch of turmoil because of differences of opinion. And one of the other opinions that they've been having is over images or icons. And there were certain groups that said, well, yeah, we should be able to use a image or icon of a saint or something. And other groups said, no, that's not right. And that's like idol worship. So you saw a lot of conflict with that, and here we come up with another meeting. When you see these councils, pay attention to them, but there's another meeting called the Council of Nicaea, and that particular council had addressed what the church was feeling in terms of using veneration, and veneration is simply honor for a particular person. But they said, the Second Council of Nicaea said, okay, well, that's cool if you want to do it, if you want to have a picture of a person or a saint, but the ultimate admiration that we're going to have is for God. So I'm going to stop here, and I want you to do your reading in chapter 7 and 8 this week. I think you're really going to find it interesting. I'll post some added videos that may also help you understand how things have been moving and shaping in the 700s and 800s. All right, everybody. Hope you're having a great day, and take care, and happy reading on church history.